My name is Jon Faerber. I am a goalkeeper from Sydney, Australia. I've been playing professionally now for a number of years, and I was involved in June of 2013 with IFX in Nuremberg, Germany. Geez, where do I begin? It was such an experience. I've known for a long time that I wanted to play internationally. Australia is very remote, of course, and international football, particularly in Europe, is of course an enormous draw card for any aspiring footballer, whether it be those that are looking to play professionally or those just that are looking to have a new experience and try out different cultures. And with a family background, with a German family background, and no German visa, but with a German family background, I was very interested in going to Germany, but finding a way in can be very tricky on your own. It's a very intimidating idea moving to a brand new country and with a different language and a vastly different culture by yourself without any kind of help or without any kind of structure or real plan. And IFX provided a very comprehensive introduction to that culture and an opportunity, an opening of a door, so to speak, in order to play there and just to move there and experience life in Germany. I can say without any shadow of a doubt that my time spent in 2013 when I first arrived there, all the way up to 2017 when I ended up moving away, was absolutely game-changing. It changed everything about where I had been going and where I would be going. I didn't really know exactly the kind of effect it would have and what I was getting myself into, but I knew that this was a good opportunity to open some doors and to try something new. When I first arrived, of course, we trialed with all kinds of various teams, and so the coaches could get a good understanding of our level and where they thought we might have a shot at fitting in. And I was originally picked up by FSV Erlangen-Bruck in the Bayernliga, which is the fifth tier of German football, which I know when people think fifth tier football, you don't think too much, but just wait and see. In Germany, it's fifth tier it's tough. It's a good level. It's a very good level. And I was very, very pleased to be picked up by that squad. I was very honored to get placed there. I had a great time there. And then after that, the following season, I was in the off season, I had the opportunity to train with the Regionalliga team, 1860 Rosenheim, TSV 1860 Rosenheim. And again, fortunately for me, they agreed to a transfer, and so I was then moved to the Regionalliga side, which again was a very, very good level of football. And after that, I was, after I did, of course, being a foreigner, I ran into my fair share of visa issues, and I ended up moving yet again to a sixth league side, which is TSV Nuremberg Buch. And I had a great time there, to be honest, and even still, sixth league German football is an excellent level. It's surprising just how strong that level is. I could talk for days about the experiences I had with those squads and in that time just being in Germany, but I think it's life-changing. It's honestly life-changing. Yeah, no doubt. Germany produce outstanding goalkeepers. No doubt about that. Some of the best in the world, if not arguably the best in the world. Australia are known also for producing many, many good goalkeepers. So it was interesting coming to Germany, another fairly strong production line. There was actually quite a lot of similarities between Germany and the Australian way of training keepers. Though I would say that one thing that really stood out, and it doesn't just apply to goalkeeping, but I would say German life in general and the German mentality, which gets joked about very often in that Germans can be very rigid, and that is both true and untrue depending on the scenario, but I would say that when it comes to goalkeeping, football, and training and what it is that's helped me develop from what was a potentially very good footballer into a professional footballer would be the discipline, more than anything. Obviously, you need to put in extreme amount of work. That's a no-brainer. If you want to get anywhere in life, you're going to have to put in a huge amount of work. Anything worth doing is going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. And the German mentality, not just in football, but in life in general, is very disciplined. If you are even a minute late to training, 10 seconds late to training, depending what level you're playing at, you might just get called out on it, or you might get fined on it. We used to get fined, and especially these days. As well as in training, yes, there's times for joking around, and there's times for laughing and having a bit of a good time, and there's times for work, where you just shut up and you do what the coach is asking you to do, which obviously would be ideal in any training situation, but in Germany it's very full on, and it's very intense. The training, when you're on, you are on. 110% you are on. And when you're off and relaxing, okay, have a breather, it's all good. But they work very hard, even at the Bayernliga or at the Landesliga level, sort of 5th, 6th tier. They're still training very, very hard, at least many teams are. And of course, Regionalliga and higher, it's professional. They're working their asses off. So, not only that, I would say also that technique, that German goalkeeper trainers are very technique focused. Whereas I can say, like, for example, my time in South America, they're maybe not as quote unquote technique focused. They're very good shot stoppers and very good goalkeepers and very effective at what they do, but they tend to be a little more sort of unorthodox in their approach. Whereas the German approach, again, I can only speak from a goalkeeper's perspective, but for goalkeepers is quite technical, quite by the book. But what that does, that focus on technique plus extreme discipline and an incredible work ethic, I think, is a major reason why the Germans produce such good goalkeepers, and Australia is very similar in that regard. We don't have quite the resources or quite the footballing focus as a nation as Germany does, but that shows in our national team results, really, doesn't it? But I think those two things particularly, if I had to pick one, I would say it is just the German mentality. That hard-working, no rubbish mentality that the Germans pull from everyday life and apply to high standards and high tempo as well in their football, that produces enormous results and produces very, very consistent and high results for their goalkeepers and their players in general. So I would say that as far as I was always a technical goalkeeper growing up, I was lucky enough to have very good goalkeeper coaches, very focused technical goalkeeper coaches, so I was already sort of on that path, and coming to Germany really accentuated that and really reinforced those ideals and those ideas and techniques that I had already learned, with a few new ones, and of course a whole plethora of new drills, but it really reinforced those ideas and continued it fit very well with my footballing personality, and so I think that is why I personally thrived in Germany, where many do. Some don't because of their style and their particular personality, but it suited me very well. And so all that discipline, technique focus, I think really helped me very much in my time while I was there and beyond. I'm now playing professionally in Iceland, of all places, which is quite a bizarre tale, but I can honestly say that now being here, I'm definitely one of the more technical goalkeepers in Iceland, and that I would thanks in big part to Germany and the training I received there. So yeah, I would say that if you were thinking of coming to Germany for football, it is a very high focus on technique, team play, moving the ball around, and discipline in everything you do. Discipline in body language, discipline in punctuality, discipline in what you're saying on the field and the way you handle yourself on and off the field. Discipline, 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 discipline. It is ingrained in German culture, and it's very clear to see in the German football, and if applied correctly can really help develop your game, and certainly help develop my game. Okay, so this is a big question. It is the big question for most young footballers. It certainly was for me for many, many, many years. And my answer might be very helpful or not helpful at all, because in my opinion, the path is the one you take. Obviously, a very direct path is to be of a certain standard at a young age, and that involves training, a whole lot of luck, talent, having the right people around you, mentality, all of it, and being plucked at a young age into one of these big academies and developed into a professional footballer from the get-go. Obviously, that is a very well-known path, a very desirable path for a lot of people, and probably the most direct one to the professional game. I was not part of that. I did not have that opportunity. I did have chances at that, large or small, and for various reasons I didn't end up in that situation. So the path I personally have ended up taking has been considerably more roundabout. I, played in Wales for a little while with Swansea, which was amazing as a teenager, and then I played in England, and I played in Scotland, and then in Chile, and then back in Australia, and then eventually, of course, with IFX came to Germany. And from there, then professional football started to really pick up. But I was always aiming for professional football, and although many people do want to obviously go through that direct path into the pro game, I would also say there is enormous benefit to be found in not doing that, and maybe following a path a little similar or a variation of what I've done, in that you end up just going all over the place to make your way throughout the game. Because I can honestly say that although it would have been very nice, of course, to go straight into big-time professional football, I would have missed out on so much of what makes me me, and so much of what makes my particular footballing journey, and just journey in life, quite unique and quite exciting. And so much of what I've done, I would have never gotten the chance to do if I'd have just been plucked straight. And here I am anyway. Okay, I may not be playing at the absolute highest level possible, but at the same time, you know what? Personally, again, I can only speak personally, I prefer what I'm doing to... Yes, obviously, if Manchester United were to come tomorrow and offer me a contract, I'd probably say yes. But do I regret, or do I wish that it was different? No, I don't. Not for 1 second. I am so happy about the path that I've taken. And so when it comes to giving advice to young footballers, yes, 100%, work as hard as you can, do everything in your power to be one of these players who gets picked up and is obviously developed into a very, very good quality professional footballer. But more than that, I would say that my advice to those up-and-comers is keep your options as wide open as you can possibly imagine, because you have no idea what is out there and the various paths. It is not as simple as these people make it, and if you don't make the cut here, then that's it. It's not that at all. If you don't make the cut here for whatever reason, if this door closes, you know what? There are other doors. There is always another way. It will come down to ultimately, and again, it sounds a bit of a cliched answer, but it really comes down to how bad you want it. It really does, because in the end, yes, if you work your ass off, you will get to an excellent level, no doubt about that. But it does come down to what you're willing to do for it. It's all well and good to be training 7 days a week for 15 years, but if you don't go out there and chase it, it's not going to come to you. Or it might. You might get lucky. But let's be honest, most of us, we don't get that lucky. I didn't. I had to go out and find it. And that's most of us. Most professional footballers, the ones you see and hear about, those are the 1 or 2%. The rest of us, we're all out here. We're here, we're doing it. We might not be getting quite the same level of coverage, but we're here. And those of us that have to do it that way, you really have to go kick down doors. And so, for example, I of course signed up for IFX. This was a way for me to continue pursuing a different avenue, a different path. When one door closed in Australia, when a lot of doors closed in Australia, and it became clear that I was going to be having a very difficult time making professional football in Australia for a variety of reasons, I started looking elsewhere. And when it came to looking into a foreign country I'd never been to before, with the idea of playing football, of course that's intimidating, of course that's difficult. And so programs like IFX are a wonderful way in. There are other ways, of course. If you have friends in foreign countries, you can maybe talk to them and go and stay with them, or go and really, just turn up in a country. It can be so simple. And then just work your way from the very bottom to the very top. When I first came to Germany, of course, IFX helped me very much, got me involved with FSV Erlangen-Brock. But then when I came to Iceland, for example, I was picked into an Icelandic 3rd Division squad, and then after the first year, I only had a 1-year contract. Then I flew back to Australia. After that first year, I then went, well, I would like to go back to Iceland. I think that there's a lot of potential there. I have nothing, but so what I did was I bought a one-way ticket from Australia to Iceland, which is about as far as you can possibly travel without going to the moon. And I turned up in Iceland with a bunch of people that I'd met the year before, but there was no guarantee that any of them were going to be able to help me at all. And I just asked a friend if I could stay on their couch and cook for them as a payment. And then I just got there and started asking friends, look, does anybody know anyone? Can I have a coach's number? Can I talk to them? Send videos out? I must have emailed out and shot out 700 different videos over the years or more, just to various coaches, and called people cold turkey, just cold call them. And then I ended up making contact with one person who put me into contact with another person who put me into contact with another person, and I got a trial from it, and wham bam, all of a sudden I'm playing in the Premier League in Iceland. I got picked into a Premier League team when I'd turned up 3 months before with literally nothing but a friend offering me a place on their couch. And it literally was that. So I use that as an example when it comes to giving advice to the young people or young footballers coming through. It really comes down to what you're willing to do for it. How bad do you want it? And I mean, how bad do you want it? Because it's not easy. It's not. It's just not. There's no two ways about it. If you are not willing to go 100 times further than the person next to you, you may not make it. Simple as that. You may be an excellent player. I've known plenty of amazing footballers, but they weren't willing to go that extra 10 miles, 100 miles, rather than just the extra mile. No, you have to go the extra 10 and maybe the extra 100 or 1,000, who knows. If you're not willing to do that, then that's fine. That's up to you. But for those who are willing to do it, good things are waiting. Whether it be top flight professional football or whether it be an incredible life journey, good things are going to happen to you for those people who are willing to throw themselves miles outside the comfort zone. So yes, obviously the normal advice of any footballer to the younger footballers: work hard, look after yourself, sleep well, drink plenty of water, listen to your coaches, Keep an ear out for good opportunities. Take opportunities when they come. Don't let them go. At least take them. You never know what's going to happen. But above all of the regular advice, I will honestly say that you have no idea just how much is out there. Open your viewpoint to everywhere, not just England, Spain, Italy, Germany. Obviously, great places to be. But there's so much more out there as well. There's so much more that you will never even know. If you'd have told me 5 years ago that there is a professional football league in Iceland that is of shockingly good quality, I would have never believed you. But you know what? Now that I'm here playing in it, it is crazy just how good they are. And I would have never thought that. But here I am. I don't know how much you can see behind me, but there's just a vast, beautiful vista of Icelandic countryside behind me. And yes, this is officially the first day of summer, and yes, that is snow all over the place. There was considerably more about 2 weeks ago. I spent 3 years in Germany playing, and then I was there for about 3.5 in total, but 3 full seasons playing in Germany, and I will very happily go back there even just to live again. I love Germany. After that, I went to America briefly, and with a girl I was dating at the time. I met her in Germany. She was an American, and she was shipped back to America for work. And so I thought, okay, I'd still like to continue this journey that I was on. So sure, let's go to America, see what is going on there football-wise, just check it out, see if it works, see if it doesn't, whatever. Turned up in America. For those that maybe don't know, getting a visa in America is maybe one of the hardest places on the planet. It's very difficult, and so it became very clear very quickly that my only chance of getting a visa was through professional football, something that obviously is not easy to do. So what I did was, when I arrived on the day or second day I was there, I shot off about 70 emails with videos and resumes attached to every single professional club I could find, or even remotely professional club I could find in the United States on the internet or whatever. I just shot off a resume. Shockingly, some actually got back to me. Most were just saying, thanks for the contact, but no, we're not interested. 2 or 3 actually said, yeah, we'll actually know, we'd be interested, let's have a look. And so I actually ended up getting to train with Portland Timbers 2 and Houston Dynamos briefly, and and so I even the Galaxy 2 I got to train with briefly. So these teams, nothing came of them because green cards are incredibly hard to come by. But even just shooting off emails, I managed to get a toe in the door, let's say. The other thing I did while I was there was I signed up for a bunch of combines, which I'm sure many American, anyone who's watching this would know about, but for those that don't, it's basically a big training camp that you tend to, or typically, pay a little bit of money for. Turn up, like $100 or whatever. Turn up, there's a bunch of players, possibly a couple of hundred, and a handful of coaches, and they're just looking at you to see who's got potential, see if anyone would fit in with their various organizations. One such combine that I went to, a lot of them are honestly a bit of a joke, and they're a bit of a money grab because they barely take them seriously. A lot of them are quite professional, but and I was very happy with how I did there, this and that, talked to the coaches, but because I didn't have a green card, no luck. And they just said, look, we would like to have you on board. Like Timbers, for example, was a great example. They said, oh, we would be interested in having you on board, but unless you have a green card of your own, we can't provide you with one. We don't have any to give. Oh, yeah, well, that doesn't help me. So I continued on looking for various things. And one of the combines that I signed up for was one with a group called Soccer Visa, which... it's an organization not in the same vein as IFX, quite different, but they were running a combine, and as it turns out, my time in Germany actually helped quite a lot with that, because when I signed up for the combine, I put on my resume, I'd played in Germany, these teams, and I'd spent this time, blah 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 blah, and I actually got contacted by one of the coaches before, one of the the Soccer Visa coaches, the guys running the combine, before the combine, and said, oh, you're playing in Germany, blah blah blah. I was like, yeah, I was. And they actually allowed me to well, they knew who I was, basically. They sort of said, yeah, just come in. But I spoke to them, and they knew who I was. When I arrived there before training, they're like, oh yeah, you're the goalkeeper from Australia, played in Germany. I was like, yeah, that's nice. They clearly, my time in Germany, thanks to IFX, did have at least some kind of marking impact, if nothing else, just to separate me just that little bit from the others that were there. The standard of the combine was very high, but this was where I was impressed, actually, how high the standard was. This was where there were a number of Icelandic trainers. So I put in 2 good weekends of football. I can honestly say some of the best training I'd put on up till that point. So that was really good. I really rose to the occasion there, and got to train with some excellent players. Others who have since gone on to play professionally elsewhere, and some excellent goalkeepers. And at the end of the combines, one of the I was speaking to everyone, and the Icelandic trainers were all there, and I was just talking to them, chatting. I had no intention of going to Iceland. It was not even on my radar, to be perfectly honest. But anyway, we went our separate ways. And then a few days after that, I got a call from the goalkeeper coach running the combine, saying, look, the Icelandic trainers were very impressed. They don't need any goalkeepers in their particular teams, but they did say that someone over there would probably be interested. If that's the case, would you be interested in going to Iceland? And to which I've just said, yes. Yes, I would. Because, as I mentioned previously, when opportunities present themselves, abstract or unusual as they may be, they are opportunities, and they are opportunities for adventure and something new, and you never know what's going to happen. And so I've just jumped in and gone, yeah, absolutely. And so 5 days after that phone call, I was on a plane from LA, where I was living at the time, to Keflavik, Iceland, where I went and jumped straight in on the night I arrived with a team in the 3rd league called Reynir Sangeri. And after 2 weeks of training with them, I actually got signed by them. And so I moved from LA to this 3rd league squad in Iceland. Now, obviously Iceland is not such a huge country, and it's remarkable just how strong their football leagues are for so few people. Obviously there's varying standard because there are really only so many people. It's not like an 84 million person Germany. This is a 340,000 person Iceland. But so I played 1 season with Reynir, and it was, to be honest, a bit of a difficult year, but again, it was an experience, an incredible experience. And I made a lot of great friends, and it became very clear that there was a lot of untapped potential for me in Iceland. And that brought me to, after the season, I was only on a 1-year contract. I headed back to Australia. And like I said before, I was then thought, well, I'm out of contract. I'm back in Australia just to visit, as in my head, just to visit. What do I do? Well, Iceland has potential. Let's buy a ticket. So I dropped 2,500 Australian dollars, bought a ticket one way to Keflavik. I arrived in Keflavik in mid-January, freezing cold, pitch black most of the day. And I'd known a couple of people from my previous squad, one of which, his father, many people in Iceland know one another, his father just so happened to be the reserve grade trainer at Keflavik IF, the Premier League squad. And he said, well, I mean, you're obviously not reserve grade, but maybe you could talk to my father. He might be able to help you out or point you in the right direction. I was just going, yeah, great. So I've spoken with him, and he's gone, oh, yeah, actually, I remember you from last year, yeah. Well, I mean, I could put you in contact with the goalkeeper coach in the 1st grade team and just see what happens. And so he's actually gone and spoken to the goalkeeper coach and given me his phone number, and I've gone, oh, hold on, I know this guy. It just so happens that I had run into him a number of times downtown because Iceland is not so big, and everybody really does know everybody. And so apparently when the U19, so when the reserve grade training was speaking with the goalkeeper coach, the keeper coach has said, oh yeah, I know this goalkeeper. I hear he's fine, like he's decent. I hear he's a reasonable, nice guy, so people seem to speak well of him. Sure, let's give him a run. What harm can that cause? So then I've got a trial with this Premier League team, Keflavik, which is a hilarious way of getting a trial with a European First League team, because ultimately it came down to, obviously, you have to be a certain ability to be able to train with these teams, but what was the catalyst for it was the fact that I was a nice guy. That I developed a reasonable reputation of being a friendly human and being a reasonable person. And that was what got me through the door into training with Kef. And after about 2 months of training with them, they actually said, you know what? Yes, we will take you on board. We would like to have you. I started in a position as a second goalkeeper, and the first goalkeeper, young guy, national team goalkeeper, excellent, a really good guy, one of my best friends here now. And I ended up getting quite a bit of game time too throughout the year, just being able to say that I went from literally having no contract, nothing, not even a place to live, just a couch to sleep on, through to playing in a Premier League team within about 3 months with a one-way ticket is quite a tale of getting to that level of professional football. It's quite hilarious, and now I'm it's 2 years on. My contract's out now, so I'm actually a free agent, and I'm living up in the north. And now with all the COVID stuff, of course, football is on hold, so I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen, what the next step is. But it's been a wild ride up until this point. I can say two major things about it in that, first of all, it's absolutely shocking just how good Icelandic football is. It blows my mind regularly, the quality that is over here for such a small nation. But I mean, you can see that in their international results and the name they've made for themselves on the international stage. It really does reflect at home just how good they are. It really brings into question some of the things going on in Australia, truly, because the Icelandic national team are arguably better, and they're considerably smaller. So I don't know. That's not a discussion for now, but it is certainly interesting, if nothing else. And perhaps more importantly, and maybe this could be added to advice that I would give young players coming through, it really highlighted, it's something I'd known for a long time, but it really brought it to the forefront, just how important the relationships you build are. It's all well and good to be one of the best players ever, but if you're a difficult personality, it's gonna really work against you. Whereas on the flip side, if you are a very friendly, helpful, open-minded person, someone who develops good quality relationships with people and treats those around you well, it is amazing just how far that will get you. That, among obviously years of training and a whole heap of luck, was what got me through the door into big-time professional football. It was the relationships I'd made, quality connections with people, mutually beneficial. And so I cannot stress enough how important it is that you treat those around you with respect, and that you are a pleasure for these people to have around, that you are a quality person as well as being a quality footballer. I think that is such an important point that maybe gets lost in this in the big time world of professional football, where a lot of it is shining lights and flashy cars, and I'm one to talk, but stupid haircuts. But the relationships you build will ultimately, I think, play an enormous part in just how successful all of your endeavors end up being. And I think that's a reasonable lesson to apply to life, not just to football. But that was really highlighted by my journey so far in Iceland. And as far as what comes next in Iceland, it's a bit up in the air. I'm not really sure. But if I can base the future on my past experiences and my optimism for them, I'm very excited for what is coming, whatever that may be. That's a bit of a good question. It's hard to say, really. I know that a lot of the major leagues are really pushing for football to come back pretty soon, and Iceland, of course, is as well. But it has become very clear with the evolution of the whole COVID pandemic that Iceland, for many different reasons, has become a bit of a very good example of how to properly deal with, research, and live through a pandemic of this nature. And the data that's coming out of Iceland through both their scientific programs and their research programs, as well as just the general everyday data, the Icelanders are extremely good historians and loggers of their own data, partly because the population is so small and they can be tracked, not Big Brother style, but statistics can be tracked relatively easily. And as a result, Iceland's methods of stopping the spread of the virus and really controlling how things are progressing have become a real shining light in the proper way of doing it, so to speak. And so, as far as when football is likely to return, as far as the other leagues are concerned, I mean, we'll see. Iceland, that's a golden question. It's really, no one really truly knows. There are whispers that I'm hearing that they would like to get the league going by mid to late May, and play the games closer together, 2 a week, just the whole season, just 2 a week, because there is only really so long you can play before winter hits, and winter hits hard in Iceland. So whether that comes to or not, we will have to see. It's very optimistic, but it might happen. That's just one of those things we're just going to have to wait and see. But the word of the day is that hopefully by the end of May, with a pretty short and sharp season. So we'll see how that pans out. From my personal experience, I can say IFX is a wonderful tool. I think the most important thing to consider for anyone thinking about doing IFX or something of the similar nature, or just generally, like any tool, the way you use it is going to determine its effectiveness. There were players in my group coming through who were just there for a bit of a laugh and were out drinking most of the nights and having a good time. And you know what? Fine. That's okay. Do whatever you want to do. But they didn't really reap what I would consider to be worthwhile benefits from the experience. I guess that is all, subjective. But for those of us, and there were others among my group who really put the most in, who really made a huge effort when we were there and really focused on learning the language and getting involved in the culture and really making the most of the experience. And all of those players and all of those guys, we really did. I think it was an excellent experience, and I think it can be used as a wonderful tool for players going through. Again, it sounds a little bit cliche, but it's very, very true. And what you put in is going to determine what you get out of something like an IFX program. If you're just there for a good time and to have a bit of a kick around and enjoy and test out another culture, then sure. But you're probably not going to get as much out of it as you could. But if you were like myself and a number of others in my group, at least, that were really hell-bent on making something of this Football League journey and really hell-bent on making something of this particular opportunity that was presented to us, then you can reap enormous rewards, be it an improved game, a knowledge of a new culture, a new language, a completely different path in life. Who knows what it is that you might get as a reward, but you will most certainly get something, and you will most certainly get something life-changing. So yes, as a tool for players coming through, absolutely, I will recommend it wholeheartedly as I would any other tool, in that you will get out what you put in. If used correctly, this is an amazing door that can be opened, an amazing tool for players going through, that can be used not only to change the footballing path, but also just life in general. So yes, 100%, it can be enormously influential if used correctly. So, last but not least, thank you so very much for reaching out and having a chat. I'm really glad to be able to pass on some of my experience to anyone coming through. That's really awesome. To anybody from the IFX staff watching that I personally may know, Mike, Vanessa, Jose. It was a real pleasure working with you guys, and I'm sure I made it clear when I was there, but I really had an amazing time, and clearly it has gone on to open the door to incredible opportunities for me personally, not just for football but for life. And so I'm incredibly thankful for the work you guys and the work you all did for us and for me personally while I was there. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I'm hoping that all of you are wonderful and healthy and everything is going great. And as far as anything else I would like to say to anyone watching, cliche as it may be, it is true. It really is true that if you will it, there is always a way. And if you will it, it is not a dream. That truthfully, if I can get to professional football, so can you. I am not a skilled footballer. I am not a talented footballer. I never was. I am a skilled footballer. Someone who has developed my skills through years of training and trials and tribulations, someone who was not born with ability like so many. I had basic coordination, a whole lot of drive, and a dogged determination to achieve my goals. Really, that there's not much more to it, and that dogged determination manifests in a willingness to go and travel literally anywhere to chase it. And so I really do implore anyone, and this doesn't just go for football, obviously we're talking in a football context, but if there is something out there that you want to go and achieve, go and do it. And that doesn't mean that it will happen overnight. It may not happen at all, but you know what? If you chase it, and if you really chase it as far as it will go, I would wager you'll find something. You'll find something amazing. Be it the goal you were originally aiming for, or something that you never even knew that you wanted. And I've found many of those things along the way. One of which is my wife and stepkids, that I am now part of an Icelandic family in Northern Iceland. If you'd have told me that when I signed up for IFX back in Australia, that within a decade I'd be living in Northern Iceland, having 3 languages under my belt, and with a family, I'd have thought you were totally insane. And you know what? I would have been right, because this is totally insane. But I love it, and I would have it no other way. And this is just what I pass on. I hope that I can pass on to literally anyone watching, that that if you're willing to just throw it all out there, then you will find something incredible. If I can do it, so can you. Truthfully. So just go get it. Whatever it is, just go get it. And if IFX can help you with that, I can certainly recommend it as a wonderful way of opening up a new culture. And I can't speak good enough things about Germany, particularly Nuremberg. I can't speak good enough things about it. What are you waiting for? Go. I mean, right now, of course, yes, Corona. But once that's done, just go for it. There's so much out there. There's so much out there. So thank you so very much for having me. And I wish all of you watching and all of you organizing IFX stuff all of the best luck and all of the best health in the world. And who knows? We may well cross paths in the future. Let's hope we do. All right. Peace.